You don't have to go buy anything new. You can use your laptop, you can use your phone, you can use your tablet, you can use your TV, you can use your Xbox, you can use any of these devices. So all of a sudden you have this sort of ubiquity of access to information that you want, and you don't have to fight with. So that became kind of powerful, right? Now, something else happened was that is their disruptive innovation, but there was also some market forces that had to be in place for that to drive forward. If you take a look at it, you say, okay, well, what happened? Right? You say, okay, Netflix stopped, and by the way, Blockbuster had a chance to buy Netflix for like $50 million right in here, and they said, no, they're not going anywhere. They don't get it, right? They just finished the quarter, June 19 with $17.6 billion in the quarter, right? So things have changed. Anyway, what you see is you see the incremental innovation kind of coming along, bumping along. You see coming along. It really wasn't a huge issue for Blockbuster, right? What was the big change, right? The big change was access to Wi-Fi. Right? You look at that same chart and run them side by side. Fundamentally, what you're seeing is all of a sudden, in like 2009, 10, 11, right? All of a sudden, we got from 45, 42 up into 65, 70% of the United States had access to high-speed broadband. Right? So it fundamentally changed the game, and Blockbuster was just too late at that point. Right? They become over-leveraged, and they made the wrong bet. Right? There's a lot more behind that story, but the bottom line is that's how innovation starts to drive stuff. Now, let's talk about AI. I talk to a lot of dumb audiences. I'm not talking to one today. I talk to a lot of event planners and people in the corporate world that don't really understand AI. And everyone has this sort of view of AI, right? That it's like, oh, it's all knowing. It's going to reach in and grab all the information. It's going to make all these decisions. It's going to do all this stuff. And you're going to see the code going. And you always like when you see in the movie, the guy gets in front of the machine, oh, they break in. I'm in. Right? We all know it doesn't work that way. That's Hollywood's view of AI, right? The way we look at it is how do we solve a business problem? It does stuff. So if you look at where AI is today, it's all around us. I don't know if you guys have seen this, the hamburger flipping AI called Flippy. I think there's a burger chain in San Diego has a machine that flips the burgers, and it's actually making a decision about how well cooked they are, and it's doing some of the same visual analysis that you were just programming here to make a decision about how and when to flip the burger, and whether there's cheese on it, whether the cheese is too melted, it's doing that's kind of cool. How about the AI-enabled toothbrush, right? So you stick it in your mouth, and it's actually measuring how long you're brushing each tooth, and then it gives you a report back and tells you what you should be doing. So it's theoretically kind of helpful, kind of an interesting way to look at it. My personal favorite's the AI we see it like when we're shopping, right? So sorry, I'll come back to it in a second. So, and then the other one's the robot bees, right? So I saw this the other day. They programmed little UAVs to go pollinate flowers. Now, there's a whole other discussion about why we need UAVs to pollinate flowers, because bees did a pretty damn good job for most of history. But it's an interesting use of AI. Now, if we look at the stuff that's happening today, right, some of the more esoteric stuff, we're seeing lots in the sports world. Right? I met with a guy 2 days ago in New York, and the NHL is taking 3 seconds clips of minor league hockey players and analyzing their acceleration speed, and then analyzing that against, and then providing information back using AI to automatically recognize everybody that's skating, right? And pull all that data in so that the scouts essentially can now make a decision. Because it turns out the guy can accelerate by an extra quarter or half mile an hour over a period of 3 seconds is going to make a big difference in the game. I mean, it's cybermetrics on steroids. I'm not doing it justice that it means, but it's really fascinating stuff. Visa is using AI to look at anomalies, right? So I came out of the payment space and out of the risk space a while back. And what's really interesting is most criminals don't take big chunks of money. They don't come and say, I'm going to take $1 million. They say, I'm going to take 99 cents a million times, right? Which is one of the biggest heists in history. Right? So these guys got 65 million credit card numbers, and they were just running 99 cents. And they were running them all the time, but they were running them in all these great big batches, right? At odd times of the day. You don't shop at 3 in the morning for a 99-cent item. Most of the time, perhaps you do, right? We won't talk about your microtransactions. We're not judging, right? Everything's fine. What you're doing, what they saw was, wait a second, you're seeing these really anomalous transactions across billions of transactions. They found tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands that were fraudulent. So they're using AI to crunch that big data. And then on the sales side, the inflatable giraffe. And you're saying, okay, well, what the hell does an inflatable giraffe have to do with AI? This is interesting. one of my buddies got drunk, mentioned to me that he loved giraffes, and he was getting married at his home. So what do? I naturally go buy 10-foot inflatable giraffes and send them to him without any explanation whatsoever. But Amazon, using their AI, says, hey, if you're going to buy that, you're also going to want this inflatable bull ring to put in his pool, which I also bought and sent to his son. So again, AI is making a suggestion that delivers happiness to us. Okay, now if I step back and I simplify it to its most basic core, when I think about AI on the front end, I'm out selling to people who actually pay for it, right? It's really good at two things: crunching big numbers, looking at stuff, massive amount of data, and kind of coming up with patterns and insight and information. And the other's doing a repetitive task. Fundamentally, yours was just doing a repetitive task. It's looking, is it yes or no? Yes or no? I'm overseeing. It's going through this very, very fast. Well, here's the funny thing. All of this comes back to this concept of customer service. And customer service is nothing if not a ridiculously repetitive task. It's people asking the same questions again and again. They're unique to them. They're not unique to the receiver of the question, not unique to the business entity that's there. So it's about, okay, how can I use AI to help solve this problem, right? If we step back and say, okay, let's understand what customer service is about. The leading guys in the industry say, listen, I want to be greeted, respected, valued, helped. Listen, wow me. Great. There's 3 pieces of information that really need to come out. 1, you got to understand your customer needs. 2, choose your technology wisely. You can't just throw technology at a problem. And 3, know your customer. Now I'm going to take you guys back to Psych 101. You guys remember Abraham Maslow? He talked about fundamentally changing the way we build things back in the 60s. It was all about Freud, right? Freud said, it's about your mom or your dad or your mom and your dad. And Maslow said, no. It's about a series of needs, and you have to solve an increasingly narrow set of needs to get to your best self, right? You probably promised I'll come back to the AI piece, right? He said, look, you got to start with the physiological. You got to start with breathing, food, water, sex. Not the fun sex, but the let's continue the human race sex, right? Then you get security. Then you get up to the intimacy. That's where you get the fun bits, right? Then you get up to confidence, and finally you can be your most successful self. So when you think of a customer service problem, or we're in the event industry an awful lot, an event industry problem, this same hierarchy exists. It actually exists in every single, I'm going to the Utes game, it exists in the Ute game, it exists today. Me trying to get here to get across the marathon, I was running down Fort Union, which was a major pain in the butt. So you look at it, you say, only once you have done all these things can you get up and be the best you, right? Now, you guys have all had this problem. You had 2 big gulps, you had 4 cups of coffee, you had whatever your beverage of choice is. You're there and you suddenly realize, I need to get rid of all that liquid. And you're walking down the hall and you see a colleague, and the colleague says, hey man, let me talk to you about something. I got the cure to cancer. And all you can hear is Charlie Brown's teacher going, wah, 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 because you got to pee. Right? You have to solve the need at the bottom before you can get to that higher self. So it really doesn't matter. And this plays out in every single customer service situation. Right? You got to solve the basic to get to the next. Okay. I'm going to come back to Clay Christensen. Right? He talked about this concept of the job to be done, and I would encourage you, as you guys are out building stuff, be really cognizant of what do I actually want this to do. The example you just gave me, you just showed was it is taking a picture of this and determining whether it thinks it sees it right now. Right? It was a very narrow job to be done, and you added another job to be done, and you compared the two. Right? It's a very narrow job to be done. Well, he was hired. I'll give you a great example. He was